Xylox had always prided themselves on being an alien of incredible resilience. Their species had no need for change, no need for emotional or physical adaptations. Xylox's body was built to withstand the harshest environments, their exoskeleton a symbol of their unwavering strength. But this was something entirely different. The transformation started small. A slight shift in their body temperature, a strange tingling in places they never thought possible. They had been to the human research facility, invited by Dr. Jenna Carter for a cross-species genetic experiment, but neither of them had anticipated this. Xylox frowned, trying to make sense of the sensations. What is happening to me? Their chest felt tight, as if something was trying to burst free. A warmth pooled between their shoulders, radiating outward like the heat of a furnace. It was uncomfortable, but strangely intriguing. Dr. Carter? Xylox called out, their voice laced with confusion. The human woman had been conducting the experiment, checking various readings on her datapad. Her eyes flicked over to them, noticing the discomfort etched on Xylox's face. "You feeling okay?" she asked, not entirely concerned but certainly curious. She was used to strange things happening during her cross-species experiments, but this was different. Xylox's body was changing before her eyes, and that had never happened with any other subject. I don't understand," Xylox said, gripping their chest, feeling an odd pressure in their ribcage. "My body feels strange. Tight." They looked down at their limbs, now seeing the first noticeable sign. Their usually hard, alien exoskeleton was beginning to soften. The sleek, protective armor was morphing into a more pliable form, resembling human musculature. Their once rigid body was gaining definition, pecs, biceps, muscles that weren't there before. Jenna blinked, her eyebrows furrowing as she tried to make sense of it. Xylox, I think you might be experiencing some of the genetic material we injected into your system. It's a human adaptation protein we're testing, but it was never supposed to do this." She trailed off, glancing nervously at the datapad. "This is unexpected. But not necessarily bad. I mean, we might be able to reverse it, maybe?" Xylox's brow furrowed further, completely unaware of what Jenna was referring to. Human adaptation protein. They scanned their body once more, noticing the most significant change, the softening of their exoskeleton. "Is this how humans feel? Is this feeling good?" Xylox asked, turning their head to Jenna, still grappling with the sensation. "My chest feels tight. Very tight. Is this normal?" Jenna's face flushed a shade darker, quickly flustered by the comment. She cleared her throat, trying to maintain professionalism despite the growing awkwardness. Well, for humans, tightness in the chest is usually a sign of physical exertion or maybe, emotional responses. But, this is. I mean, your body is reacting to something unusual." Xylox nodded slowly, though the confusion was clear. "I do not understand," they muttered. The heat spreading across their chest was becoming more intense now, their skin flush, almost glowing. They placed a hand over their heart, feeling the odd rhythm of their new pulse. "Why does this happen? Why is my body changing?" Jenna scratched the back of her neck, still unsure how to approach the situation. "Well, I think your physiology is reacting to the protein in a way we didn't predict. The human genetics are, well, they're affecting you in ways we're not equipped to handle just yet." She frowned, pacing around the lab. "But that's not all. I think your pheromones are changing too. They're human-like. And, that might be why people are starting to, react to you differently." Xylox tilted their head, trying to process the words. "Pheromones?" they asked, a little too loudly, causing Jenna to glance nervously toward the door. "What are these pheromones? Why do they make others react?" Jenna took a deep breath and tried to explain it simply. Pheromones are chemicals your body releases that can influence others' behavior. For humans, they're often linked to attraction or emotional responses. She immediately regretted her words, seeing the confused look on Xylox's face. we didn't think that would happen with you. Zylox stood up straighter, their form now feeling heavier, but not uncomfortable. Their once perfectly controlled posture was now less rigid, more flexible. They could almost feel something new, something human, stirring within them. Is this attraction? Zylox asked, an odd sense of pride blooming in their chest. Are they attracted to me? Jenna's face was now a deep shade of crimson as she shifted her weight from one foot to the other. Well, yeah, but not in the way you think, she mumbled, her eyes darting around to avoid the increasingly awkward situation. It's, human attraction, but it's not like, alien attraction. You're, sending the wrong signals. The wrong signals? Zylox repeated, their voice smooth yet baffled. You said humans are attracted to me. What is wrong with that? Jenna swallowed hard, feeling her own discomfort rise. Look, it's just that, well, you're sending out pheromones, and humans respond to that, like, a lot, she added, her words becoming more jumbled as she tried to explain. And, it's a bit more intense than we thought. Zylox raised an eyebrow. Intense? They leaned in closer, narrowing their gaze. Why is it so intense, Dr. Carter? They gave her a slow, deliberate smile. Is it because of my new, enhanced physique? Jenna stepped back, flustered by the question. What? She laughed awkwardly, shaking her head. No, I didn't mean it like that. It's just, your changes are affecting things more than we expected, and now, well, people can't stop reacting to you. Reacting? Zylox said, voice still low, their posture becoming more dominant as they crossed their arms. So, they find me appealing? They took another step forward. I'm, too hot to handle? Jenna froze, her heart skipping a beat as Zylox's body radiated heat. She was trying to maintain control over the situation, but the air had thickened, charged with something she wasn't sure how to address. Yeah, I guess you could say that, she muttered, her face turning redder by the second. Zylox smirked, completely oblivious to the full effect they were having. Fascinating, they said, tilting their head, their eyes narrowing. So my appeal is causing these reactions? This is not what I expected from this human experiment. They paused and looked down at themselves with a touch of amusement. This is new to me. Jenna was starting to lose track of the conversation, her thoughts swirling as she struggled to find a way to make sense of what was happening. Yeah. Well, it's all new to me too, she mumbled, wishing she could make the situation less awkward. Zylox stood before the mirror, studying their reflection with growing confusion. They hadn't expected their transformation to feel so personal. The changes to their body weren't just physical. No, this was something more, something deeply human that Zylox didn't know how to control. Their once sleek exoskeleton had softened, and now, their muscles, once stiff and alien, were becoming more human. Their chest felt fuller, their body more defined. A strange sensation stirred within them. It was warm. Too warm. Dr. Carter, Zylox called out, their voice low with a sense of urgency. I believe I am overheating. My body is emitting an unusual amount of heat. Should I be concerned? Jenna, who had been busy scanning through data on her console, looked up, clearly startled. She hadn't anticipated this much of a shift in Zylox's physiology, nor had she expected the phenomenal response to escalate so quickly. Yeah, that's probably your body reacting to the human proteins. It's definitely not something we planned for. You might be releasing human-like pheromones. Pheromones? Zylox repeated, their voice filled with both curiosity and confusion. Is that what this heat is? What do these pheromones do? Jenna's face flushed slightly, but she forced herself to remain professional. Pheromones are chemical signals that influence others around you. For humans, they're often linked to attraction, romantic or sexual attraction. Zylox's expression grew even more puzzled. Attraction? They took a step forward, now fully aware of the warmth radiating from their body. Is this attraction what is causing this heat? Xylox wasn't sure what to do with the information. Their body was heating up, responding to something human. The feeling was alien, both literally and figuratively. Well, yeah. Jenna muttered, visibly uncomfortable. She wasn't exactly prepared for a conversation about pheromones and attraction with an alien warrior. Your body chemistry is releasing these pheromones, and humans tend to respond to them. More than they should, honestly. Her face flushed again as she struggled to maintain control of the situation. You might be making people uncomfortable. Xylox tilted their head, completely unaware of the potential impact their physical presence was having. Uncomfortable? How can that be? I have not done anything to cause discomfort. They glanced around, their body unconsciously pulling them closer to Jenna as if they were unaware of the growing proximity. Do you not find me appealing? Their voice had a subtle confidence, tinged with a touch of arrogance that came naturally to them. Jenna's heart skipped a beat, and she quickly took a step back, trying to put some distance between herself and the now almost hypnotically alluring alien. That's not exactly what I mean, she stammered, trying to regain her composure. I mean, you're, making people react to you. You're, creating some, tension. Tension? Xylox repeated, clearly intrigued by the word. What does this tension signify? Is it an expression of discomfort? Should I reduce my proximity? Their voice was neutral, but the question carried a certain earnestness. They genuinely didn't understand why the room had grown so charged with something. Jenna could barely form a coherent sentence as Xylox inched closer, their muscled form now radiating even more heat. The combination of Xylox's confusion, his towering figure, and the warmth around them was starting to make Jenna nervous. No, it's not like that, she sputtered, wiping her brow. It's just that, well, humans might get attracted to that. To the pheromones. Xylox cocked their head to the side, their eyes narrowing in concentration. Attraction, again? But how does it work? You say I am making people sweat? They crossed their arms, leaning in even closer. Are humans always this sensitive? Does this mean I have some sort of power? Power? Jenna's eyes widened, her body unconsciously retreating as Xylox took another step forward. No. It's not like that. She forced herself to breathe, hoping her nervousness wasn't visible. It's just that pheromones, they cause an attraction, but it's not necessarily something you do. It's biological. It's a reaction, not something you're actively controlling. Xylox frowned again, trying to piece the puzzle together. They felt the heat that was radiating from their skin. The softness in their body, the unfamiliar flexibility, and the strange pull toward Jenna's proximity. They took another step closer. But this heat, you are not reacting to it. It doesn't make you want to come closer? They observed Jenna's flushed expression and assumed she was trying to maintain control, but their growing warmth made it hard to remain distant. Jenna could feel the room closing in on her. Xylox's proximity was making her heart race, and despite her better judgment, she had to fight the urge to respond to the pheromones. I'm fine, she stammered. I just need to analyze this. I need to figure out what's causing it. Xylox ignored her words, their focus entirely on the physical sensations now overwhelming their senses. I do not understand, they said slowly, their voice almost a whisper. I feel strange. Warm, but not in a way that feels dangerous. My body, it reacts to your presence in ways I do not control. Is this attraction a result of my new biology? They took yet another step forward, the air between them thick with unspoken tension. Jenna stepped back, her mind racing. She had never encountered anything like this before. An alien who was practically exuding human-like attraction and pheromones, unknowingly drawing her closer, despite every instinct telling her to keep her distance. Look, Xylox, you don't. She stopped herself when she noticed Xylox's increasingly confused expression, the way their features seemed to harden with realization. You are saying my body's transformation is affecting you? Xylox asked, voice laced with the slightest hint of triumph. Am I causing you to react? Are you attracted to me? There was a pause before they added, because you are sweating. Humans usually sweat when they are uncomfortable. Jenna's eyes widened, her hand instinctively reaching up to wipe her brow. No, no, no. It's not like that, she protested, feeling heat rush to her face. You're not making me sweat because of that. She quickly tried to change the subject, scrambling for a rational explanation. It's just biological reactions, okay? I'm trying to keep things under control here. Xylox, however, was still watching her closely, studying her every movement. So you are uncomfortable because of my body's heat? They didn't move closer, but the subtle, implied pressure was still there. This attraction, it confuses me. Jenna felt like she might explode from the awkwardness, but at the same time, a tiny part of her recognized how absurd this whole situation was. Here she was, a scientist, trapped in a room with an alien who was completely unaware of the chaos they were causing. I'm not uncomfortable, she finally managed to say, though her words felt hollow. I'm just overwhelmed. With everything happening. You're changing in ways we didn't expect. And yet, I feel stronger. More, in control of my new form. This attraction, it gives me power. Xylox's voice dropped, their expression shifting. Is this what humans value? Xylox sat across from Jenna, feeling the weight of the situation finally hitting them. They had undergone an unexpected transformation, and with it, their body was not just reacting differently, it was interacting differently with their environment. Jenna had made it clear that the pheromones they were emitting were affecting the room, but Xylox still couldn't fully grasp what this meant. They had no reference point for what it was like to be a source of human attraction. This concept of attraction was new, confusing, and, quite frankly, a little overwhelming. Xylox's eyes narrowed, trying to dissect the situation. I still do not understand, they said, their voice steady but laced with frustration. These pheromones. They cause humans to desire me? They shifted uncomfortably in their seat, the heat still radiating from their skin, making the air feel thick and heavy. This is not a normal reaction, yes? Jenna, her nerves shot from the awkwardness of the conversation, was struggling to find a professional response. No, Xylox, it's not normal, she admitted with a deep breath. I mean, not for someone like you. The transformation, it's making you human-like in ways we didn't anticipate. The pheromones, they're too strong. Humans are picking up on them. And it's not just physical. It's a feeling. A chemical reaction that makes people attracted to you in ways they wouldn't normally be. Attracted, Xylox repeated, clearly not understanding why that was an issue. Is this a problem? You keep saying this makes humans react. But why is this a problem? Do you not enjoy this attraction? Jenna's face flushed. Her heart raced a little faster, but she quickly tried to ignore the subtle tug of Xylox's new allure. I mean, no, Xylox, it's not that I don't enjoy, it's just, this isn't something I can control. And it's not something I expected. She ran a hand through her hair, clearly trying to process the confusing mess in front of her. This isn't how the experiment was supposed to go. The pheromones are supposed to help you adjust to human biology, not cause people to act on instinct. Xylox blinked slowly, processing Jenna's words. Their own body was pulsing with an unfamiliar energy, one that they could not simply push aside. You say humans act on instinct, Xylox mused. But I am not human. I should not be reacting in this manner. This is uncomfortable. Should I stop? Jenna opened her mouth to respond, but the words got stuck. She wasn't sure how to explain this new predicament. Her rational side screamed for her to remain calm, to keep the conversation grounded, but the heat in the room, both literal and figurative, was starting to make it harder to focus. No, you don't have to stop, she said quickly, trying to keep her voice steady. It's not your fault. I mean, I know it's a lot to process, but, look, there's nothing wrong with it. Humans have reactions, but they need context. And you, well, you're not used to being the object of that kind of attention. The words hung in the air. For a moment, Zylox simply stared at Jenna, trying to interpret the strange shift in her voice. You say I am an object of attention? Zylox's voice dropped, the idea of being viewed in such a way causing their internal systems to spark with unfamiliar energy. Why does this make you uncomfortable? Jenna shifted uncomfortably in her seat, trying to avoid meeting Zylox's gaze. I'm not uncomfortable, she said, though her blush said otherwise. It's just, you're not human, Zylox. And it's complicated. She bit her lip nervously, trying to regain control of the conversation. It's not that it's a problem, it's just, you didn't sign up for this part of the experiment. Zylox, still not fully understanding, leaned forward, their form towering over Jenna. But I am here, yes. I am participating in your experiment. This means I must adjust. And if my new form causes this attention, is that not part of the experiment? Jenna's breath hitched, the distance between them becoming charged in a way she couldn't ignore. She knew she had to maintain professionalism, but Zylox was now standing just a few feet away, their pheromones making her feel things she wasn't prepared to deal with. Yes, you're part of the experiment, she said, her voice wavering. But, this was never meant to happen. I didn't anticipate this. Zylox's eyes softened, their confusion turning into something else. You're not upset by my presence, are you? Because you seem affected. They reached out, lightly brushing their hand against the table between them, but the simple gesture felt intimate, as though it were a question in itself. Are you upset with me? Jenna opened her mouth to respond, but the words failed her. She wasn't upset with Zylox, no, she wasn't upset at all. She was confused by the overwhelming response her body was having to his presence, the way the heat in the room felt like it was multiplying. She wasn't prepared for this. She wasn't prepared for him to make her feel like this. No, I'm not upset, she said, the words coming out quieter than she intended. I'm just trying to understand what's happening. And why this attraction is happening to me too. Zylox seemed to process this slowly, their eyes glinting with a newfound understanding. You are reacting as well? They tilted their head, studying her with a piercing curiosity. You are not rejecting me? You are not uncomfortable with my proximity? Jenna's heart thudded against her chest as she stood up, trying to create some distance, but the thick, almost tangible air between them made it impossible to truly step away. No, I'm not rejecting you, she said quickly, her voice breathless. It's just, I can't control this. I can't control how my body is reacting to you. Zylox's expression softened even further, and they took a step back, clearly picking up on her discomfort, though they couldn't quite understand why. I see, they said slowly. So it is not rejection, but something else? Jenna's mind raced as she tried to find the right words. Yes, something else, she agreed, her voice trembling slightly. I'm trying to understand what it means. You're not supposed to be affecting me like this, but you are. And it's confusing. The air between them felt heavy, as if the conversation itself was charged with an electricity neither could fully grasp. Zylox, for the first time, seemed to truly understand the depth of the situation. They tilted their head again, their expression unreadable. I have done nothing, but my body causes reaction. This is strange. I do not want to cause discomfort, but my body, it cannot stop. Jenna let out a slow breath, trying to calm herself. It's not your fault, Zylox, she assured him, though she wasn't sure she was convincing either of them. It's just, your transformation. You didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. And now, I guess we both have to figure out what this means. Zylox stood in the center of the room, their form emanating an aura of undeniable heat and confusion. Despite Jenna's explanations, they still found themselves unable to fully grasp the complex human emotions and reactions swirling around them. The pheromones they were releasing were clearly having an effect, but what that effect meant, and whether they should act upon it, was still beyond their comprehension. Jenna had assured them it wasn't something they could control, but Xylox wasn't one to accept a lack of understanding. "I do not want to be a source of discomfort," Xylox said, their voice unwavering, though it carried an undertone of frustration. "But my body reacts in ways I cannot explain. I cannot allow this attraction to create confusion." They paused, looking down at their body, which had undergone such drastic changes in a short time. "This heat, this presence, does it truly have that much impact on humans?" Jenna sighed, rubbing her temples in frustration. She had hoped that, by now, they would have found a solution or at least a way to mitigate the consequences of Xylox's transformation. But every new revelation only seemed to make things more complicated. "Yes, Xylox, it does," she said, her voice softer now, as though trying to find the right words. "The pheromones you're releasing, they're stronger than I anticipated. Humans react to them instinctively. And it's not just physical. It triggers emotions, desires, urges." She hesitated, unsure of how much to explain. "It's something humans can't control. Just like you're having trouble understanding your transformation, we're having trouble understanding how to respond." Xylox's expression remained neutral, though they couldn't help but feel an unusual surge of something: curiosity, anxiety, as Jenna spoke. They hadn't expected their physical changes to create such chaos. "So it is not just physical attraction," they mused aloud. "It is more than that. It is a reaction." They crossed their arms, contemplating this. This is a strange human concept. Why is attraction so important? Jenna looked at them, the weight of the situation pressing down on her. She wasn't sure how to explain the complexity of human emotions in a way that wouldn't overwhelm Xylox. "It's not that attraction is important in itself, Xylox. It's that it's part of what makes humans, human. Our biology, our instincts, they drive us in ways that can't always be controlled. You didn't sign up for this part of the experiment, but now that it's happening, we need to figure out how to make it work without causing more issues." Xylox looked down at their body again, still unable to fully understand the purpose of these physical changes. "I was designed for strength, for combat. But now I feel this power, this effect on those around me. I am not accustomed to causing such reactions." They stood tall, their eyes glinting as they searched for some form of resolution. "How can I stop this? How can I control it?" Jenna ran her fingers through her hair, clearly overwhelmed. "I don't know," she admitted. "I honestly don't know. It's like your body is trying to adapt to human biology, but it's doing so in ways we didn't plan for." She glanced at Xylox, noticing how their bodies seemed to vibrate with this strange energy, the pheromones continuing to radiate off them. It wasn't just the physical heat anymore, it was like an intangible tension in the air. "But maybe we can try to minimize the effect." Xylox looked at Jenna, their expression unreadable. "How do we do that? If I cannot control what is happening, how can I simply stop it?" Their voice was tinged with frustration, and for the first time, a flicker of vulnerability appeared behind their stoic demeanor. "I do not wish to make you uncomfortable. That was not my intention." Jenna softened, sensing the genuine uncertainty in Xylox's voice. "I know it wasn't your intention," she said quietly. "But right now, you're a catalyst for something humans can't easily ignore. The pheromones, they're too strong. And honestly, you being near people is going to cause reactions. People are going to respond to you." She paused, considering her next words carefully. "You might not be able to control the pheromones, but you can control your actions. And maybe that's where we start." Xylox stood still, absorbing Jenna's words. "Control my actions," they repeated thoughtfully. "I understand the concept of control. It is something I have been trained to master." They looked directly at her, a hint of realization dawning in their eyes. "So, you are suggesting that I distance myself from humans? That will stop the reactions?" Jenna nodded, though she didn't feel entirely confident in this solution. "It might. At least until we can figure out how to make your transformation less disruptive." She offered a weak smile. It's not ideal, but it's a starting point. Xylox's gaze softened, and they took a step back, distancing themselves physically from Jenna. If that is what it takes to prevent discomfort, I will do it. They paused, their eyes meeting Jenna's. I did not expect this change. I do not know how to navigate these human emotions. But I will try to understand. There was a fleeting moment of vulnerability in their voice, one that betrayed their confusion about this transformation and its consequences. Jenna watched Xylox, feeling a sense of both sympathy and admiration. This alien, who had been bred for combat, was now trying to navigate a world of complex human emotions and desires. It wasn't an easy task for anyone, let alone someone who had been designed with a completely different set of instincts. I know it's a lot to take in, Jenna said softly. But you're not alone in this. We'll figure it out together. She smiled reassuringly, trying to offer some comfort in the midst of the awkward and uncomfortable situation. Xylox looked at her, their eyes softening for a brief moment before they nodded. We will figure this out, they said firmly. I will adapt. I must. For you, and for the others. I do not want to cause harm or confusion. This transformation, it is part of my journey. But it will not control me. Jenna nodded, relieved by their resolve. I believe you, Xylox. And we'll work through it. One step at a time. For a moment, the tension in the air seemed to lift, though it was still thick with the lingering effects of the pheromones. But Jenna was beginning to feel a sense of calm settle over her. It wasn't an easy situation, but at least now they had a starting point. Xylox was determined to adapt, and that was a good sign. As the two of them stood in the quiet room, each lost in their own thoughts, the weight of the transformation and its effects hung in the air. Xylox might have been struggling to understand human attraction and pheromones, but for the first time, Jenna felt like they might actually have a chance of figuring this out. Together.